Imagine if one small moment, a single sentence from Mikasa, could change the course of history. At the moment when Eren asked Mikasa, "Am I just family to you?" and Mikasa answered, "Yes, you're like family." That wasn't just a simple answer. It was a kind of trigger that pushed Eren further away from his humanity. But now, let's turn everything around. Let's throw all assumptions into a parallel universe and ask, what if Mikasa were honest? What if she said, "I like you, Eren, not as family, but because I love you"? That sentence might seem trivial, but it could be an emotional anchor for someone like Eren. Now, in this opportunity, we will reveal 3 alternative Attack on Titan storylines, if only Mikasa had been honest about her feelings for Eren. So stay tuned, guys, because it's going to be crazy. All this time, Eren has been like a ship lost at sea. He possesses godlike powers, but his heart is empty. Everything feels like a burden: the Titan's power, the blood heritage, the memories of the future. Eren only wanted to be free, not to become a slaughterer of humanity. But because he felt that no one truly understood him, he ultimately chose the darkest path. Now, if Mikasa had confessed her love, it could have been a small beacon of light that saved Eren from madness. If Eren knew he was loved by Mikasa, he might have paused. Eren might have considered escaping from the total destruction scenario, because in the manga itself, we are shown a glimpse of Eren's dream, about him and Mikasa running away, living in a secluded place far from conflict. And in this alternative timeline, we can imagine that becoming a reality. Living in a forest or a small village, living a simple life, maybe raising chickens, no titans, no walls, just the two of them in true freedom. The world remains chaotic, but for the first time, Eren is free not because he trampled everyone, but because he chose love. But their decision definitely wouldn't be without consequences. If Eren and Mikasa left, the rumbling would never happen. That means the outside world wouldn't be terrified, and Paradise Island would remain the primary target for destruction. Without Eren as a living nuclear threat, world leaders would still plan an invasion. And now, they wouldn't have to fear their Earth being crushed by thousands of colossal titans. Paradise would bleed and ultimately lose. But it's also possible that without Eren as the Devil King, people like Armin, Historia, and even Levi could have a greater voice in finding a peaceful solution, even though the chance of peace is very slim. What's interesting is that this alternative ending has a much stronger emotional appeal. In the original timeline, we get a bitter ending. Eren dies at Mikasa's hands. The world is saved, but the wounds in everyone's hearts are too deep. But in this timeline, we can imagine a different ending, not utopian, but hopeful. Eren and Mikasa live in the midst of chaos, perhaps hiding for life, but they live. Although it ends with a happy ending for Eremika fans, in the end, their lives also won't last long, because Eren only has a limited time left before dying from the Titan's age curse. And with Eren dying without being killed, the history of Marley's hatred towards Eldia will continue, because the Titan's power still exists. If Mikasa had decided to answer Eren's question honestly, it doesn't mean the ending of Attack on Titan would be happy or hopeful. In a more complex reality, even if Mikasa and Eren had openly acknowledged their feelings for each other, the world around them would force them to live a much more bitter and tragic life. In this alternative theory, love would actually bring them to the painful realization that being together is not an option, but an egotistical act that would betray the sacrifices of thousands of lives on Paradise Island. Love in this situation would only clarify the heavy responsibility they must bear. Eren would realize that to accept Mikasa's love means ignoring the fate of millions of Paradise humans who have sacrificed themselves for their shared future. And like Eren, Mikasa also seems unable to forget that all the struggles, sacrifices, and deaths of their comrades in the Survey Corps were not for their personal happiness, but for the freedom of all humanity on Paradise. They realize that to save their respective consciences and to honor those who have sacrificed, the only option is to separate, to give up their chance for a peaceful life for something much greater. They know that if they stubbornly choose to live together and run away to some unknown place, they will be remembered by the next generation not as heroes, but as an egotistical couple who chose personal happiness over the responsibilities that have been passed down to them. The Attack on Titan ending might be similar to the original, where Eren still dies, but perhaps not killed by Mikasa, but by someone else. This could happen because Eren doesn't want Mikasa to live in the permanent emotional suffering caused by killing the person she loves. The third alternative is that Mikasa's confession actually makes the story ending even darker. After Mikasa expresses her feelings openly, Eren becomes even more emotionally pressured. Instead of finding peace or happiness, he feels that his love for Mikasa is his greatest weakness, hindering his path. Eren then becomes very protective, even obsessive about Mikasa's safety, and therefore he becomes more radical in carrying out his plans. Instead of stopping the rumbling, Eren accelerates and expands the scale of the attack, believing that only by destroying the outside world can Mikasa live peacefully and safely in Paradise. Mikasa, who witnesses the dark change in Eren, feels guilty because she realizes her love has become a trigger for greater destruction. Finally, Mikasa has to make a painful decision, which is to stop Eren with her own hands. In this scenario, their love story becomes a great tragedy, where Mikasa must kill the person she loves most to save the world. However, even if Eren's plan is stopped, in this last scenario, perhaps more people die. Characters like Jan, Connie, Falco, Gabby, or others might not survive because the battlefield is too harsh. In my view, characters like Jan, Connie, Gabby, and their friends can survive after fighting Eren, because Eren doesn't seem to be too serious about wanting to eliminate them all. So those are some of the alternatives that would happen if Mikasa answered Eren's question honestly. What do you guys think? What would happen if Mikasa confessed her feelings to Eren? I'd like to know your opinion.